Good morning, everyone, and thank you for coming. I'm Mike Koval, and welcome to Stahls TV. Just want to get started today, and what we're going to do, it's a CAD-CUT tour. Everything you need to know about heat transfer vinyl. Before we get into, getting started here, for all you out there on Facebook, please feel free to ask any questions. I'll get to them, throughout the broadcast, as well as the folks attending through GoToWebinar. We'll do much the same here, so be pausing periodically to answer any of those, and we welcome any and all questions. Interactivity is great here. So without much more being said, we'll get right into the product, to the webinar today. And like I said, it's all about heat transfer vinyl. Whether you're new to the business, just got your cutter, or you've been cutting for a long time, it's extremely important, that you pick the right heat transfer material for the job that you're using, because they don't all work the same and they don't all have the same properties to fit every single application. So what we're going to cover here today is how to choose the right material for the right job and for the right fabric, and the many different styles, that we have available to achieve different finishes, and things like that. So let's get started by taking a look, at how CAD-CUT works. What we do, we have a vinyl cutter, the material, and the heat press. So essentially, you cut it, you weed it, you heat it. And we'll go ahead here and send a job over, and we're going to use our CAD-CUT thermofilm, where it all started. We're sending our job here, and most folks, when getting into vinyl cutting, they're using it for names and numbers. And like I said, CAD-CUT's thermofilm's where it all started. Back in 1967, Stahls has invented this, as a solution to the cut fabrics for lettering and numbering. Then in 1992, we decided to mount it to a Mylar carrier in order to feed through these vinyl cutting machines that you see right here. We're using the Graphtec, but you could also use Roland, GCC, and a lot of folks these days are starting to gain popularity in the craft market with the Brother Scannon cut, the Cameo, the Cricut. So a lot of those work very well in addition to these, more industrial size cutters. So with the material being cut, we'll remove it from the cutter here, and the next step is weeding, which will come to the table here and do that next. So we did the cutting, now it's time for the weed it portion. And go ahead and use our Stahls Easy Weeder, to help us, pulling away all the excess material here. And we're going to weed our design for our name and our number. And one little tip when weeding material is always weed into your cavities. What I mean by that is with this number 3, you pull into it so you'll have less breakage, and tearing, and it's one more smooth motion. And the same thing goes with our text. Rather than weeding against the cavities where it tears, we'll weed into them to make it much faster and increase your production efficiencies. And also, how the material weeds is an important factor, in which material that you choose. We're using the thermofilm, and it is a little thicker. So the thicker the material, the easier it is to weed. Which you'll see here, we have our cut and weeded design ready to heat apply, which we'll do here in a little while once we get into some applications of some of the other products. And the thinner materials, sometimes they don't weed quite as easily, and that's where you'll find some CAD-CUT materials such as thermofilm or fashion film, and again, we'll get into more detail here, have a pressure-sensitive carrier, and that helps when doing fine detail, small text. And when we get into each specific product that we're going to go into today, we'll learn more about those characteristics and how they help. So let's get in, now that you've seen how the product works with a vinyl cutter, as most of you probably know, but if you're new, it's a good intro here. Cut it, weed it, heat it. It really is that simple. And that's the easy part of CAD-CUT. And the more difficult and most challenging for decorators is there's a plethora of vinyl materials that we carry, all having specific needs. So while I definitely wish that there was a material that worked for everything, but unfortunately right now that's not the case. So You have your specific products for the specific job and the specific fabric that you're going to choose. So let's get into that. The most important determining factor that you're going to have when choosing the vinyl that you use for the particular job is the fabric content of the apparel or substrate that you're applying to. Whether it's cotton, 50-50, polyester, nylon, spandex, lycra, there's so many different options here. That's the first thing that you want to consider. So let's get with the easiest application there is, 100% cotton or polycotton blends. Pretty much any material that you could think of that's out there now, you could apply to cotton to very quickly and easily. Where you want to, the next determining factors in once you apply to cotton, because like I said, any material is going to stick, no problem, and be extremely durable through 50+ wash and dry cycles. The next thing you want to do is dial into the feel of the garment, whether it's a sweatshirt or a jersey or a lightweight t-shirt or some of those, from Bella or American Apparel where they're a lot thinner apparel. You don't want to use a thicker material such as thermofilm. You'll want to pick a thin material. So what we'll do is we'll get into some standard finishes and what to choose and where, and then we'll get into some specialty finishes such as glitters, reflectives, metallics, just to give you a different look for different markets. So let's go to the standard finishes. We just cut some thermofilm. That's the tried and true material that Stahls invented, and if you're doing anything with teamwear, thermofilm's the way to go when it's cotton or 50-50 blends. And the reason we recommend the thermofilm is because it is a little bit thicker, so it stands up to the rigors of, let's say, in-game football or hockey or lacrosse, where you need that extra durability through the game-worn applications. So we recommend the thermofilm there. As you saw, extremely easy to weed, extremely easy to cut, and extremely durable, for in-game wear. And we have some examples here, with a split front. Nice thing about thermofilm, you can do multi-layers, so we have the black on the bottom and the orange on the top, and we have the name and the number on the back. And thermofilm is great for teamwear and apparel. Now, some cons of thermofilm. If I'm applying to a t-shirt or something that's lightweight, yes, it'll stick no problem, but it's going to be extremely heavy on the garment itself, so it's not going to give a very desirable hand. It's going to be real rigid. So when we get into fashion film, we'll recommend a different one there. So thermofilm, I like that too on the 100% hoodies, where you have more material and it's thicker, where you don't notice the thickness. So teamwear, heavier type sweatshirt, stuff like that, thermofilm is great. The next one, fashion film. Fashion film is one of our go-to products for decorators out there for doing everyday t-shirt type applications. And the reason we recommend fashion film is because it's very thin, soft hand, and extremely easy to work with. And we had mentioned a pressure sensitive carrier. That's extremely great for fine detail, small text, because that sticky carrier allows us to weed it, and with a small detail, it helps in keeping what's meant to be not weeded away down to the mylar, and allows us to pull away whatever we want, much easier when it comes to detail. So that we recommend for anything t-shirt or very thin, lightweight type style shirts, because it's thin, it's soft, it's going to have a more comfortable feel. Like I said, we don't want to use that thick product like thermofilm on a basic t-shirt because it's just not desirable. And another great thing about fashion film, it's over 40 different colors, including neons and metallics. So the color palette there is pretty much, if there's any color you need, we have it in the fashion film. Now, some drawbacks of fashion film, we saw with thermofilm, we did a name and a number. Sure, you can do larger designs with fashion film, but a lot of times that pressure sensitive carrier makes it a lot harder to weed on bigger designs, because the tackiness is a hindrance when it comes to larger details. So weeding larger designs will take longer than if using a thicker material. So when you're doing fine detail, small text, lightweight style t-shirts, garments and things like that, fashion film is the way to go. And the next product, it's one of the most popular as well, is our Premium Plus. Premium Plus is has a lot of the characteristics Fashion Film does, as far as being super thin, lightweight, easy to weed. One of the nice things about Premium Plus is it has a 4-way stretch and rebound. So it's great for some of the female style type garments like the rib tees, or like I said, some of the stuff from American Apparel, or even Bella or Cavio. A lot of times they have a little bit of stretch even though they're cotton. So the Premium Plus is an excellent product there because of the 4-way stretch and rebound. So depending on the style of garment there, Premium Plus, if there's any stretchability, and again, it's thinner than Fashion Film, so that's one of the most lightweight materials out there. And I like it, if it were me, I'd probably use Premium Plus for anything outside of, the in-game apparel, even over the Fashion Film. But a lot of folks like using the Fashion Film because of the pressure sensitive carrier. And the Premium Plus doesn't have as much tack, so it's not the greatest with fine details. So again, you kind of have to look at, not only the style of garment that you're applying to, but also the style of design that you have. So the more detail, Fashion Film, if you want the stretch and rebound, Premium Plus with not so much super fine detail, but it could do some good detail as well. But just keep in mind the different options there and the styles of your design. And then one of the hidden gem to me too in our CAD-CUT lineup is our Sports Film Light. I like the Sports Film Light because it's super easy to weed. It doesn't have a pressure sensitive carrier, and it's only limited to single color applications. So that's some of the drawbacks of it, but I like it because where I would recommend using if you're doing, let's say rec leagues or little leagues, doing those names and numbers out of that because it's a little more cost effective as well over the thermofilm. So Sports Film Light, the color offering is a little limited, but it has your basics, the whites, the blacks, and the core colors there, for most teamwear decorations. So, the Thermofilm, Fashion Film, Premium Plus, Sports Film Light. Those kind of are encompassing all different options that you have when it comes to the cottons, 50/50s, and even most polyesters out there. And when I say most polyesters, we'll get into some of the drawbacks of those products once we get into 100% polyester. So those are the products that are most popular and what most shops keep in stock because those are the regularly used and the 50/50s, the 100% cottons, one of the most popular applications out there for team wear and everyday wear there. So now let's get into the special effects. And here again, all of these products are going to work very well with 50/50s, 100% cotton, and most polyesters. But where these, differ and why you would choose them, these are more market specific and niche because you're going to get the specialty type finishes outside of your normal spot color type vinyl colors. So we'll step over to the heat press and we'll apply these because having a visual of these special effects is much better than just simply talking about them. We'll walk over here to our Fusion. And I'm just going to press, this is a Port & Company from Sanmar, and just a basic white cotton t-shirt. So we'll thread her on our Fusion here, do a quick pre-press, and then we'll get into some applications, many different specialty finishes that we have to offer. Okay. So as most of you are aware out there using CAD-CUT material, the Glitter Flake is one of the hottest products on the market out there for a specialty type finish. We have here our CAD-CUT Glitter Flake in our pink, and it's great when you're doing any kind of spirit wear, cheerleading, dance wear, and female fan gear. It adds a great pop, a textured glitter finish, which is great that folks want, and in many different markets, and works very well on cottons, 50/50s, and most polyesters as well. So, and it's a quick, easy application of 300 to 320 degrees for 10 seconds. And this is a hot, warm, or cold peel product, so production is very easy with it. Here's our Glitter Flake. Again, extremely popular if you're wanting to have that glitter look for dance wear, spirit wear, cheerleading, You know, and we've noticed a big trend in it in some of the boutique style women's and children's clothing. It's becoming very popular there in use with monograms and things like that. So another popular product, it's our hologram. And while like the glitter, it adds just almost a hologram type shine to your garment. I'm going to cover that since we have our glitter flake applied. It too applies at 320 degrees for 10 seconds. Any questions out there, Joe? Okay. Again, feel free to, post any questions as you see fit. The foil, or the hologram, it is a cold peel product, so we're going to let that cool a little bit here, and we'll get into our metallic. This is our fashion film metallic here, and this is our metal diamond plate. Again, just a metallic finish. For a lot of these specialty finishes, they attack the same kind of market. It's just more a matter of what your customer wants as far as that finish, whether they want the glitter, the hologram, just a straight metallic. So discuss with your customer. What I'd recommend too, if you're doing a lot of specialty applications, have our swatch rings handy. That way when you bring customers in, like I said, in here, we could talk about specialty finishes till we're blue in the face, but until you actually get it in their hands and show them what it looks and, the many different colors that those take on as you even move it, throughout the way the light hits it, the sun hits it, that's where the products sell themselves there. So, and Joe's raising his hand that we have a question, so.
Peter has asked, he noticed that you were reheating obviously the glitter flake when you applied the hologram. Mm-hmm. His question is, about whether it's safe to reheat that, and is there like a number of times that you can do that?
Typically, once applied to the garment, adding that extra, press, it's not going to hurt it at all. Now, one thing I have seen sometimes, if you do press multiple times on some metallics and stuff, sometimes it'll take away some of the shine, but more often than not, it's not going to affect anything if you do it a few times. So. Good question. Okay, so we have, what were we doing? Our fashion film metallic. And fashion film metallic, it has the same characteristics as a standard fashion film with a sticky carrier, and it too is a hot, warm, or cold peel. So depending on what you're doing there, if you got to get shirts done quickly as possible, a hot peel product is great because there's no time in waiting. Press, peel, you're done, on to the next garment. And that's some of the drawbacks of having a cold peel product like the foil. We saw we had to wait a little bit. So if speed is important, you might want to consider a hot peel material over a cold peel to get your jobs done, in the time that you promised them. And let's see, we have another one, which is our CAD-CUT glaze. This is a really unique product that it's been maybe 6 months or so. It comes in 5 different colors, and with the camera here, you can barely see, how it looks on the garment. And that's one of the things that we're trying to achieve with the glaze. It's more of a tone-on-tone, almost true hologram type, where I don't know if you remember some of the paint jobs in some of those cars where as you're driving by or you're walking past it, it kind of shifts in color from a purple to a blue, that iridescent style finish. And that's what we're trying to achieve here with the glaze. So it comes in the 5 colors, like I said, but you can't really notice what color it is until you apply it on the actual garment itself. So let's say the red, for instance, will look different on a white shirt than it will on a black shirt or blue. So it kind of takes on the effect of the garment as well as the material color within the material itself. And so extremely unique there for tone-on-tone and unique style applications. And this too is a 300 degrees, 10 to 15 seconds. And we could peel this one hot, warm, or cold. Well, let's chalk that one up to not working so well here. Probably was an old transfer that's been sitting out that I just found. So we'll have to view a video on that one to show the finish to that. I've been here for 13 years. I still make mistakes. So, and we have our next one, which is our CAD-CUT flock. Flock is a nice product because it gives a suede felt-like finish to the garment. It's also a little raised, and one of the nice things about flock is it's also compatible with rip-away applique for any of you folks out there doing embroidery or applique work. Much like, since I mentioned the rip-away, the glitter flake is also compatible with our rip-away process. So we'll apply our flock. A flock is a cold peel material as well. But it does apply at 300, 320 degrees. So while this is cooling, we'll go ahead and discuss the last two specialty finish we're going to talk, but Joe's raising his hands for a question, so we'll go ahead and get to that.
Yeah, several people have asked some questions now. Lou would like to know what color was the hologram that you used?
The hologram that we used, Lou, was the gold hologram.
Okay, and what material would you recommend for a dry fit product?
A dry fit product that we're going to get into once we're done with the specialty applications, which most of the time it's our Premium Plus. Again, but we'll get into some of the ones because you may have to use a different product depending on the the color and stuff like that. So, but that's a good question. We're going to get to that definitely next.
Does Sport Film Light help with dye migration like a regular thermal film on poly garments?
Sports Film Light does not have any dye blocking capabilities. So if you tried to put that on 100% red polyester, odds are it's going to turn pink. So if you have anything, again, we'll get more into this once we talk about into polyester, which is the next application. Dye migration is one of the biggest challenges for any decorator, whether they're using vinyl, whether they're screen printing. It's just very challenging. But we'll go over some steps and materials to use and even some ways to overcome the dye migration issues.
And hopefully those questions gave the flock enough time to cool.
Yes. So that's a good break. I like it. So there we have our flock. And unfortunately, you can't tell what it feels like on the camera, but it's a very suede, felt-like finish. It's great, on bags and shirts, things like that. So pretty much anything there. But you're just looking for that unique finish. Flock's a great product, and again, if you're doing any applique work, it works very well with that process in our rip away. So the next two, these are my, in addition to the glitter flake, these are probably my most favorite, and according to some of our sales numbers, with you out there as well. And it's first one we're going to talk about is our CAD-CUT adhesive and foil. If anybody's out there familiar with screen printed foils, where you screen print an adhesive and you lay a metallic sheet over top to get a metallic look. Well, now we've introduced our CAD-CUT adhesive, which is just like any rolled good that you're used to cutting, but there's no color to it. All it is it's a cuttable adhesive. So what it's great for, opposed to screen printing, you could do more customized designs, on-demand printing, things like that. So it's just a great option for you to offer some unique style designs. And I like this type of foil process over than a standard, because there's standard CAD-CUT foils, much like the hologram, where you can get those in a solid metallic finish. Sometimes those are very rigid. They dull your blade out faster because they're just harder to cut. So the adhesive, very easy on the cutter, very easy to work with, and durability is just about as equal as the standard CAD-CUT stuff in about 25 to 30 washes. So you don't get, the extreme durability like you would with a fashion film or a thermofilm, anything like that. But it's a great option, and it's really eye-catching and shiny. So we will go ahead and apply our adhesive first, and you just lay this down just like any other CAD-CUT product, and it applies at 300 degrees for about 3 to 5 seconds with a lighter pressure. So I didn't change my timer, but I'm just going to count in my head to 5. Release my press, and the adhesive portion is a hot peel. So once you're done, you peel that hot. Now you're not going to, I mean, you could notice, that it's there. Where it really takes the effect is when we lay our foils over top. And our foils come in a variety of different colors and finishes, even rainbow, leopard prints, some patterns there as well. So depending on the finish you want to achieve, there's a lot of options that you can present to your customer there for the unique looks. And the foil portion applies at the same temperature, but for 10 seconds, and we want to use a little more firmer pressure on the heat press as opposed to a lighter for the adhesive. And the adhesive is a hot peel, but the foil, you actually want to let that cool prior to actually removing it. Any questions to break up the cooling time, Joe?
No, you're okay at this point.
Okay. And same with you folks on Facebook, out there, just go ahead, feel free to type anything out and we'll get to those. And while that's cooling, we'll go ahead and discuss our latest and greatest product out there, which is our CAD-CUT patterns. So we've had a high demand, for the longest time of pattern CAD-CUT vinyl. And we have that here today. And while this is cooling, Joe, I'm going to step over to my computer and we'll just go over this online and just show some of the different products that we have as far as patterns go. All right. If you go to Stahls.com and you hover over our CAD-CUT material section here, you'll see CAD-CUT patterns. So we'll go ahead and click on that. And that'll take us to our pattern page, which you could see, scroll down here, all the many different stock options that we have here, from just patterns, but also even solids. So if you're trying to match a specific color that you just can't achieve with the standard thermofilm, fashion film, you could actually pick different colors there to dial in closer to your customer's needs and demands. But the biggest thing obviously is the many different patterns that you see here that we currently have for our offering. And we're going to continue to expand on these from your feedback and any customer demands to put more up there. But one of the greatest things about these patterns is, yes, you have full color, yes, you have some different decoration options and finishes to choose from, but the beauty of these patterns is they're completely customizable to your needs. So for instance, if I wanted to change the colors of this checkerboard, I select my pattern, select my color tab, and if I want to change the charcoal, I click on that, and then I'm presented with a number of different options here to change it to suit my customer's needs. So let's say I wanted a green, and that's if it's Christmas time, and if I want to change the red to a blue, I could do it. So many different endless opportunities here for you, as well as your customers, to achieve what they want and what they need. Question, Joe?
Yes, there's a question here from Peter. He wants to know, what's your thoughts on the shirt that you were decorating, using that as a sales tool or a demo in your shop or when you're going out to see clients?
Oh, absolutely. Folks do this stuff all the time when it comes to showing their customers different looks, different finishes, especially when it comes to the glitters, the foils, and stuff like that, where talking about them just doesn't do it justice. So a lot of times folks will just, let me grab a bag here and I'll show you one thing that we've done, where we've taken some of our most popular, my mic fell off. Sorry about that, folks. All right, hopefully everybody can hear me again now. Thanks, Joe, for the tip. But you'll see this bag that we have here. We have some of our most popular products applied. So what this is doing, it's a sales tool for us where we could show different finishes right at once. So they could take a look at it and say, oh, wow, well, that looks like that's going to work. I've seen a number of folks even take our swatch rings, apply that to a piece of fabric, a t-shirt, whatever it might be, just to show the many different colors and finishes all in one shot. So a number of different options for you, whether you want to take it to, something like this bag where you show real world designs to give it a, a fair shake, or someone just as basic as taking our swatch rings and applying it to the shirt themselves or whatever. So a lot of different options that you could do for your customers there, or, like we have in the background, if you have walk-in traffic, just put mannequins out and, actual decorated garments. So. Another one?
Yeah. Is the mask for the pattern special, or can you just use the medium mask that's currently used for express print?
Yes. You use the current mask that you're using. If you're using express print and you have the Magic Mask medium tack, that is what you will use. So that's one nice thing too. And that's one of the differences that you'll want to keep in mind. If you're cutting vinyl, you're kind of programmed now to mirror everything. Well, with the patterns, you need to make sure that you don't mirror your image, because you cut it in the positive, because instead of cutting on the adhesive side, you're actually cutting on the face stock, which you primarily don't do with standard CAD-CUT. So you cut in the positive, weed it just like you do vinyl, but you use a transfer mask, which is just a sticky carrier that when it's weeded, you're going to have let's say the name in, how you would normally read it. But I don't want to pick up each individual letter and then place it back down and press it again. So you use the mask to squeegee over top and pull up all your lettering so that it keeps all the registration for you. So it makes it nice and easy to apply. And we made it pretty easy. So if we're done ordering this, we could just click the next step. We've picked our colors. Next step, we have our roll widths here, which is 1, 5, and 10-yard rolls. So the options there. And right below that, we have the option for you to order the mask, because it is required, to make application a lot easier for you. So made it easy there. But for those of you out there that do printing and cutting and you already have the Magic Mask medium tack, in stock, then by all means, just go ahead and use that. One of the nice things about the Magic Mask medium tack too is I've gotten almost as much as 2 to 3 times usage out of a piece of mask. So once I peel it up, don't throw that away. Use it for your next design. That way you're saving yourself some money there in your costs. So that's the pattern. That's one of the great things there. So we'll go ahead and finish applying. Our stuff should have cooled over here for the foil. And we'll apply our pre-cut pattern as well, just so you can kind of get an idea of that. So once we've done, pull that up, and there we have our metallic finish design. So as you move it around in the light, you'll see the metallic sheen that it has. And I've seen a lot of folks do a lot of clever things with the foil process, where what we did here is we just laid this sheet flat over top of our adhesive, and you get a nice smooth flat finish on the foil there. I've even seen folks take this before applying it to the adhesive to crumble it up, get it all wrinkled, and then you could take it apart like this, and when you lay it over your adhesive, the wrinkles in there will create an effect of distress. So either folks leave it that way for a distress foil application, but I've seen some folks, and we do this shows a lot as well, is we overlay another color of foil, so those wrinkles that were exposed from crinkling this up get filled in with your next color of foil to achieve a multicolor foil look. And our patterns, let's see here, we have one. It's kind of tough to see, so we'll kind of move it over there. And just like, for you express print users out there, it applies at 320 degrees, 10 to 15 seconds, hot, warm, or cold peel, so very production friendly. I'm going to decrease my pressure a little bit. Turning it the wrong way. There we go. Any other questions, Joe?
No, at this time it looks like we're good.
Okay. And as I said, patterns. So hot peel, warm, cold, to achieve that excellent finish there. And you saw on the website there the many different options that you could offer your customers there as far as customization, color offering, and things like that. So And like I said, we're going to be adding, to the many different styles of patterns that we have, in addition to your feedback. So if you want to see anything, shoot us a line, give us a call, and hopefully we can get something, some more patterns added soon. Okay, so that pretty much covers cottons, 50/50s, special effects, and standard style finishes. So this is where, like I said, cottons, everybody could decorate those with any number of different products. It's just a matter of choosing the material based off the style of garment that you have, and even like we had talked about, pressure sensitive carriers, the type of design that you're actually applying. So the more detail, go fashion film. The more names and numbers, thermofilm, or the sports film light. Game worn thermofilm if you're doing like rec leagues, little leagues where you don't have as much abrasion and things like that. Sports film light's a great way to go. And then again, with the specialty finish, it's really all market specific and the end result that the customer is trying to receive. So let's get into the more challenging decorations here, and how to pick the best one there. And as we've already seen with some of the questions already, 100% polyester, as most folks know, it's extremely popular in garments these days. It's coming back, in sportswear with the Under Armours, the Nikes, the dry fits, the Adhises there. Wow. The products that we spoke about, polyester, there's no problem with adhesion. It's fairly simple to decorate when it comes to that. Any products that we just talked about will stick and last on polyester without any problems whatsoever. But the biggest challenge when decorating polyester is dye migration, which I'm sure everyone has ran across, whether they're screen printing or using the CAD-CUT vinyl, where you press white lettering on a red shirt and it all turns pink or gray or whatever, depending on that color dye that's in the polyester. So what you have to do is be sure you're using the proper product to block or inhibit that dye from coming through the vinyl. And right now, thermofilm is the best way to prevent dye migration when using basic CAD-CUT materials. So the thermofilm does have a dye blocking agent. So if you're pressing on red, it stays white, or pressing on whatever color it might be. It just seems that red is always the most challenging, that it stays white. So right now, thermofilm is your best option when it comes to preventing any kind of dye migration. Unfortunately, some of the dry fit stuff, the thermofilm doesn't feel the most comfortable, but it's still the best way to go to prevent that dye migration. But some other things that help, and or actually what causes dye migration is the heat. As you know, in applying thermofilm, it applies at a pretty high temperature of 330 degrees. And anything like that, it's going to activate those dyes and those polyesters no matter what. So the Premium Plus, it's another product that works very, very well with polyesters, because you could apply that as low as 280 degrees. And a lot of times that lower temperature will keep that dye migration from a minimum from the lower heat application. So thermofilm is the best way because it nearly prevents it on most cases. Premium Plus does a great job with it because every polyester fabric seems to react differently. Some of them bleed, most of them bleed, but there's some of them that have no problems with the basic products. So it's a matter of testing your product too. And when you bring them in, even press it on the inside. I cut a small square in an inconspicuous area, press it on the inside of the shirt, throw it through a dryer to kind of speed up that process. Because sometimes I've seen, I've sent a sample out to a customer before where I didn't even think about dye migration at the time and just sent it out to them, and they're like, hey, you got here and it was pink, but. So sometimes it takes some time. So to speed up that process, just throw it in the dryer and check that area you applied on the inside. If you don't see any dye migration come through once you throw it through a dryer, you should be good to go in whatever product that you use there. So, and another challenge with polyester is more often than not, especially when you get into Under Armours, Nikes, the dry fit stuff, they got a high stretch and rebound. And like I was saying before, the thermofilm, it doesn't have any give really whatsoever on those types of garments. So the Premium Plus is a great option there because it has the 4-way stretch and rebound. It's super thin, so when you apply it there, it almost feels like it becomes one with the a part of the actual fabric, which we have here. This is from Teamwork Athletic. We have our blue Premium Plus applied to this. So, this is a very stretchable style garment, but you see the Premium Plus stretching right with it and coming back to the original state as well. That's, some products have stretch. Let's say, for instance, fashion film. It does have some stretch and could apply to this, no problem whatsoever. But the problem is it doesn't have any rebound qualities. So when you stretch that out, you'll notice the design itself distort. So anytime there's stretch and rebound, the Premium Plus is the way to go, unless you know that you're going to have dye migration issues. So when it comes to dye migration too, obviously if you put black on something, you're pretty safe regardless of what you use, because the dyes won't come through and show, the dye. I've seen some folks do a lot of clever things as well, to kind of prevent dye migration, is use like a metallic base or a reflective base to add as an extra blocker, to prevent the dye migration. But even then, you're going to lose out on some of the stretch and rebound qualities that you have in those products. So just test on any of your polyester, and if you're worried about anything, use thermofilm. It has the best. Or we have in our CAD print services, or for those of you out there doing printing and cutting, we have our SuperTech Sublastop, which is specifically designed as well for preventing any kind of dye migration. So even if you have a single color, just to take any worry about it, if you have printing qualities, just print your design on the SuperTech Sublastop, and keep yourself free from any worry there of dye migration. Let's see, what else do we have? Stretchability, we have dye migration, which is the biggest challenges of polyester, and also scorch marks. And again, scorch marks is extremely hard to overcome with a lot of products, because most scorch marks happen at 300 and above. So thermofilm's not good for it. Fashion film's not very good for scorch marks on these things. So again, Premium Plus with the lower temp application of 280 degrees. So if you have any scorch mark issues with a particular garment or bag or whatever it might be, Premium Plus is great because you can apply it as low as 280 degrees. And also the super film's another one there, but it's a lot thinner, and it's not quite as consistent with weeding and things. And it's a cold peel product too, so just some different things there to think. But sports film, once it's applied, works very well, stretches great like Premium Plus. So, but I like I said, even before, I like Premium Plus pretty much for most of my applications. And super film, one of the drawbacks of it there is it's so thin. Sometimes if you put it on, let's say 100% cotton, you'll notice, because when you wash and dry cotton, it shrinks. So sometimes you'll notice like a little raisoning or wrinkling in the vinyl. So, it kind of distorts that images there too. So I like Premium Plus for most polyester applications, unless it has to bleed. Any questions out there, Joe, with polyesters?
Yeah, we have a few.
Sure.
There was one that came in just now. They were busy with a customer, missed the part about the SuperTech in sublimation. Mm-hmm. So if you could review that process, please.
Sure. For those of you out there doing printing and cutting with an eco-solvent or solvent printer, we have our SuperTech Sublastop, which has a black background to prevent any dye migration from coming through. So even if you have a single color design, but your fabric's going to bleed, just printing that particular color with your printer, it takes away the worry that you're going to have dye migration by using the SuperTech Sublastop. So, that's just another way, to achieve. And nice thing about SuperTech Sublastop, much like Premium Plus, it has stretch and rebound capabilities, and it's still very thin, even though it has the dye blocking qualities. It doesn't sacrifice the thickness that sometimes thermofilm, would on something like that. So it's just a great way to decorate dye sub garments. And if you don't have eco-solvent printer, the Sublastop is something that we offer through our CAD print service. So, if it's something that's going to work for you, utilizing our CAD prints and picking the Sublastop as your material of choice there will be a great option for you.
And the question also being asked about the proper material to use for an outside garden flag, but more specifically, will the patterns product be a product that would be an option for outside garden flags?
It will. but being outside in the sun, as it is a printed vinyl, you may see some fading, being outdoors, as this, but it's going to be very minimal because the inks that are being used, they're, a lot of times they're being used for outdoor applications with vehicle wraps, decals, stuff like that. So, while you may see some over time because of the sun and things, but, you shouldn't have any issues outdoors, over like say a week. You won't see anything happen to it within a week. It's more prolonged outdoor. So.
Okay, and then we'll have just 2 questions that are a little different topic for when you're done at the end of your presentation.
Okay, we'll do that. Perfect. Okay, so let's see, what did we cover here? We covered the basic applications of cotton, 50/50s, most polyesters, and even the challenges of dye migration, stretchability, heat sensitivity there. So just to recap the polyester portion, thermofilm, if there's any dye migration, if you only have cutting capabilities, is the way to go to prevent that. Premium Plus, if it has stretch and rebound, it's a great way to go because it's not going to distort, it's going to feel comfortable because it's thin, and the lower temperature for even inhibiting the process of the dyes coming through, as well as any scorch marks. So that pretty much covers up polyester. Now, another popular application that folks have is nylon. It's a really tough application where anything that we just spoke about, with the exception of briefly the superfilm, none of those products will work on nylon. The adhesive just isn't strong enough. While if you put it on, it may stick initially, but it's not going to last through any sort of laundering whatsoever. So, but never fear, we have products for nylon as well. So ThermoGrip, which is basically thermofilm with a different type of adhesive that's meant for nylons. And where you'll see folks, go back and forth is that with football jerseys where maybe the name plate, it's nylon, where the rest of the mesh is polyester. So you just need to keep in mind that when decorating football jerseys to make sure that if you have nylon in it, just use the ThermoGrip because it's going to stick to the nylon portion. And there's also Gorilla Grip 2, which is another product for nylons. And the difference there, thermofilm's thicker, Gorilla Grip 2 is a lot thinner. So if you have a thinner, lightweight nylon garment or jacket, Gorilla Grip 2 I think is the best way to go because it's going to give you the best feel on the garment. And the ThermoGrip, again, it's just like thermofilm, thick, but it's meant for the game-worn stuff where it's going to go through the rigors of tackling, stretching, and getting pulled upon in many different ways. So it's just a matter of what you're applying to. And even outside of apparel, like the gentleman or the person just asked about the flags. A lot of folks use the Gorilla Grip 2 for doing golf outings where they're doing the sponsor flag for a particular hole, or even those ones you see folks hang out for the holidays, stuff like that. So the Gorilla Grip 2 works on those thinner substrates, even the canopy tents, the easy up type things. A lot of times those are nylon. Those products work well. Even umbrellas, so ThermoGrip, Gorilla Grip 2 are the way to go for any nylon applications. And so yeah, nylon, while it's challenging to decorate, it's simplistic too because there's only a couple of products that we're going to recommend for you for nylon. And then again, for those of you doing printing and cutting, the SuperTech line of products will work across any wide variety of fabrics, from cottons, polys to nylons to stuff like that. So so there's your options there when it comes to nylon, and then some other ones, spandex and lycra with the stretchability. They're a lot like the polyesters that you do with the Under Armours and stuff. Again, so spandex and lycra, I always go Premium Plus because of the stretch factor there. So as far as CAD-CUT goes and applications, that pretty much encompasses how you choose and the many different fabrics that you primarily are going to be decorating. The easiest ones, again, being just to recap, cottons, 50/50s. Any product that you choose is going to work very well as far as adhesion and durability. At that point, just decide garment specific, whether it's a heavier garment, a lightweight garment, choose the right ones there. Thermofilm, fashion film, Premium Plus, and then the next step is the finish that your customer wants. So ultimately they're going to make the final decision when it comes to that. So you just know that the glitter flake, the metallic, the foils, the patterns, you have an unlimited amount, of customization and finishes that you could offer your customers, that whatever they want. And when it gets in the polyesters, we have the dye blocking with the thermofilm, or the SuperTech subless stop, and the low temp applications with the Premium Plus. And then your nylon applications, Thermo Grip, Gorilla Grip 2. Again, thickness and style of garment or fabric that you're applying to is really going to determine, what you're using there. So Joe had mentioned there was a few other questions here at the end, and it looks like I see a couple of things coming through on Facebook, which we'll get to too.
Okay, so one of the questions we had earlier was, it's kind of like a side job at this point, but what's the help that you might be able to give them, or in the way of marketing for online e-commerce for having this as a side job?
Marketing for online e-commerce, I think the best way to do it, social media is extremely popular. Everybody's on Facebook these days. So Facebook's a great tool for you to market yourself out there, just even in friends and family, getting started there. And once they start talking, or, people start seeing things like that, that's just easy marketing, and it's free, Facebook. Another way I've seen folks go, it's extremely popular, and especially we had mentioned earlier with the Brother Scan and Cut, the Crickets, those types of cutters out there. We're seeing a lot of folks there having extreme amounts of success setting up a store on Etsy, eBay, and even on Amazon. But I think Etsy, in talking to crafters and folks like that, they found Etsy and Facebook to be the top two ways to market yourself, even as a side thing.
Okay, and then there are a lot of shirts that we're finding that have 65% poly, 35% viscose blend. Should we stay away from those, as well as any kind of a rayon 80% and poly 30 blend? That's
a great question, and I'm glad it's been brought up, because that's one thing that I did forget to mention about, and even apply to the presentation. We're seeing a lot of popularity these days with tri-blends, which have either rayon or some other type of form of material in addition to the polyester and cotton. And again, those don't really have any problems when it comes to adhesion in the products that you use. Unfortunately, where you see the biggest challenges there is the scorch marks. So with any of the tri-blend stuff, use the low temp application material, such as the Premium Plus, or if you have printing and cutting capabilities, use the SuperTech, because that's the biggest challenge there, is the scorch marks on some of those garments.
Okay, and the final question I have, I'll actually answer this one for them.
Okay.
Our viewers loves the roll racks that we have on our wall in our set. And I have to be the sad one to tell them that those are just display items. Those are not roll racks that we sell. In fact, those aren't really rolls. They're just set decorations. So no, we do not sell those items at all.
You don't know how many times folks ask me that at a trade show as well, for our display garments and some of the ways we display the rolls there too. So maybe that's a little side business I'll start myself, maybe. But looks like we have some questions here coming through on Facebook. Let's see. Tina Maria, how long can foil or any transfer be stored? That's a good question. Most CAD-CUT products, as long as you keep them in an office style type environment, in a controlled temperature, there's no reason those shouldn't last, 2 years. Now, granted, if you set them where the humidity fluctuates, temperature and stuff like that, you may see some degradation in the adhesive, or them not work over a longer period of time. But through relatively household environment where it's pretty controlled, they're not going to go bad through storage or anything like that. Okay. Bill Dancer, just starting a home business. Should I buy the high dollar press, or would a cheaper press work to save money? Also, same for sub, printer, and cutter. Great question, Bill. I recommend getting what your budget allows initially. As a startup, I know, a heat press isn't cheap. $1,000 to me is a lot of money as well. So, I have seen folks that starting off as a side, where maybe they're just decorating for some family and friends and stuff like that initially, where a cheaper heat press will work out if you're using it a few times a week. But if you're going to be using this and you're going to be going at it and approaching businesses, sports leagues, rec leagues, whatever it may be, a lot of times those have failure because just the time's pretty relative. You know, that's pretty easy to keep track of. But temperature fluctuations, cold spots on the press where, you know, the front of it could be reading 300 degrees, the back of the heat press or the middle's at 320. So those fluctuations in temperatures are going to cause you to have faulty applications. So while a cheaper heat press, it heats up and it'll apply things more often than not correctly. But to me, you know, if this is a business that I'm really trying to go after and I'm going after people outside of family and friends, you know, where they say, yeah, you got a nice shirt, you know, but maybe it only lasts 10 washes, you know, they're not going to be too mad at you. But, you know, it just gives yourself a bad reputation if you go out to a business and things and it fails because of your heat press. So if your budget allows it, I absolutely say get the best quality because you know you're not going to have any, you know, failed garments. You're going to be able to trust your applications as well as your customers. So like I said, well, it works, but, you know, if you want to make this a business, you know, get the higher priced press. Now the vinyl cutter, they're all very, very good. And even from the craft cutters, you can get those, even the Cricuts, you know, people out there are using Cricuts, and those, I mean, you could pick those up at Walmart for $200 and they work extremely well. The biggest downfalls of some of that is the speed of it. You know, so if you're wanting to do a lot in a little amount of time, you know, those cutters are very slow, and you know, you actually bought a printer, not a cutter. Sorry about that. But dye sub printer, I'd go Sawgrass. You know, that's probably the best one out there for dye sub. And print cut machine, you know, I definitely go Roland. You know, I wouldn't skimp out on an actual printer because, you know, the higher dollar price printers, they are that for a reason. You know, they've been built for that. You know, a lot of research and development has went into that, and you're going to get a quality print there. Okay, some other questions. Does foil come in a sample pack? Right now, the foil does not. I'm assuming you're talking about the adhesive and foil. That does not come in a sample pack. The glitter flake does, however. We have our multi-kit, which I believe has 10 different colors of glitter flake, and that's $25. That's extremely popular. You know, it gives folks, you know, a nice, comfortable price point with $25 and a variety of colors there, so they could, you know, most folks, what they use that for is like one of the previous folks asked about creating samples and being able to show people different finishes. So let's see. Did the foil dull any with the second press? This one didn't really. You know, that the foil holds up very well over multiple presses. Now, you're very rarely ever going to have 6 different presses on one garment. You know, but if you see maybe you're going to have multiples, you could position your garment so that it's not under the heat all the time, or use a pad over a different area. So, but a couple of presses, you're not going to see any changes. Now, after maybe 6, 7, or 8, you might see the sheen die down a little bit. But again, you're very rarely ever pressing one design 6 times. Let's see, many questions, which is great. What is the shelf life on foil? Much the same like any other the CAD-CUT products. Keep it in a controlled environment. You know, it's going to work extremely well, you know, without any problems. Can you show the Pebble Puff? Unfortunately, I cannot. The Pebble Puff, actually, it's a product that we have discontinued. I do believe there's probably still some on the site because there's some still available. But it is that. The Pebble Puff was a product that, you know, it's flat. It just looks like any other vinyl on a roll. But when you apply that under heat, it puffs up like a vintage style transfer would. But it just didn't have as much popularity as we thought, you know, which is one of the reasons why we had to discontinue it. But it was pretty cool. But again, it's extremely niche, you know, so not many folks really had a desire for it. Let's see, shelf life on all of these. Again, CAD-CUT products, keep them in a controlled environment. They're going to last a good while for you. Can I get CAD-CUT glaze in pre-cut? That's a good question. Let me check that out here. I believe that you can, but let's look. Oops. Letters and numbers. Custom cut. Order now. There we go, the wrong one. You know, that's a good question. Fortunately, I think you can, You know, but if you go in and you actually create your designs, you could actually, you know, see the offerings there. So, well, it's about time. Joe's giving me the sign, and you know, it's time to wrap it up here. Sometimes I can get a little long-winded. You know, I appreciate all the questions, and I apologize I didn't get, you know, to everybody's there. But I want to thank everybody for attending today and being so attentive. And be sure to tune in next week, April 26th at 2 a.m. You know, Zach Ellsworth is going to be doing a class on how to design and market the best website for your clothing brand. Again, everybody, thanks for watching. I'm Mike Koval, and we'll see you again soon.